Welcome back, folks, to the Fantasy Hustle. You all know me, Sucker Johnny G, my sidekick over here, Bradley, and we got a guest host, Mr. Matt. How you doing, Matt?
Thanks for having me on the Halloween episode, guys.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Brad learned to dress up here, so it's all good. What a good week, though, I must say here. A lot of good things going around in the league. A lot of close calls and a couple big injuries here. And, of course, obviously the deadline was today, so we have a couple trades to talk about. But getting into Week 8 real quick. Teams on a bye, Falcons, Chargers, Cowboys, and the Titans. Definitely a little bit of escape route there here. Some of the top teams for a couple divisions there. Panthers, Bears, Seahawks, Colts, Steelers, Saints. Well, they all handled their opponents pretty efficiently here. So I'm getting to some of the closer games here. Not to say it was close, but kind of interesting here. You know, Deshaun Watson goes in on Thursday night, throws 5 touchdown passes. Impressive thing there was he only had 4 incompletions, so definitely handled your Dolphins pretty easily there. Bradley, how do you feel about that?
Oh, that's fine.
That's a good answer. Devontae Parker, looking like he's trying to take back the reins there. Good to see him healthy, getting some action there, making some. That one catch was ridiculous, so I'm not going to really count that as a good play, but, you know, it is what it is. Lamar Miller looked pretty solid for a couple consecutive weeks here. Wonder if he's going to be able to last the rest of the season.
Revenge game.
And, of course, you know, Fuller goes down with a torn ACL, which we'll highlight on a little bit later here. So definitely a good Thursday night as far as impact fantasy-wise. Not good for Fuller owners, but good for maybe a Demaryius Thomas owner here. Next game we stopped in on was Sunday morning. Last one across the pond, the Eagles soared over the Jaguars. Speculation for a Week 10 return by Leo Fournette is definitely going to be needed over there in Jacksonville. Bortles throws his 100th TD. He won't see 120 probably. So
You might not see 110.
Yeah, no doubt. But, yeah, Eagles definitely coming back from a very terrible start there, which I think they need in that very weak NFC East. So be interesting to see what they do here over the next couple of weeks, see if they can catch up to the Redskins. Joe Mixon had his 2 TDs and head off the Bucs' late comeback in Cincinnati, which Mike Evans came back, obviously, once Jameis Winston got caught stealing crabs in the locker room, and fucking coach benched him, so it is what it is. Evans went up, and, man, he had a huge game, 176, I want to say. And it's just in a matter of time. Fitzmagic gets back in there. So
as soon as he comes in, he throws that 72-yard touchdown pass to him.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It's like, But Dirk Cutter's got a situation on his hands not knowing who he's going to start here. So we'll see what happens going into the following week. Patrick Mahomes continues his MVP campaign, 300 yards, 4 TDs. Sammy Watkins, a little bit of relevance there. 2 TDs and strong effort by Phillip Lindsay, but just not enough. Definitely seeing that he's the lead back there. So, you know, especially with the injuries that have plagued the running back side of things, looks like Booker's starting to kind of step his way in that number 2 seat there. So something to monitor there as far as running backs on the Broncos side of things. ODB decimated his nemesis, Josh Norman. 8 for 136, including a pretty dope one-handed catch, I must say here. I don't even think ODB thought he caught it, but unfortunately the rest of his team is awful and was trying to catch up to Adrian Peterson, whose old ass ran for about 149, 1 TD and 1 reception TD. So, you know, Skins are retaining the lead in the NFC East, and, you know, they're getting by. And I know you mentioned Washington's defense was pretty, they're coming together to say the least. And given that division, that's all they really have to do. You know what I mean? Alex Smith's not throwing a whole ton of touchdowns. Their wide receivers are beat up. Chris Thompson is coming back. You know what I mean? He showed a little bit of effort, but is it going to be lingering like they tend to do with him through the season, being his size? Pretty interesting to see here.
Yeah, Washington's defense, their run defense in particular, they haven't allowed a single play this year, a single rush of over 20 yards. And they are just keeping running backs down. They held Barkley down to 38 rushing yards this week after Ezekiel at 33 last week, and McCaffrey the week before at 20. So the best rushing performance is actually Jordan Wilkins at 61 against that defense. So this is a team that is going to do it the old-fashioned way, not today's NFL, and that just means if they make the playoffs, they'll be a quick one and done.
They got a quick addition, too, at the end of the deadline today with HaHa Clinton-Dix, who had a couple good, first couple years there in Green Bay, and then the past couple he's kind of shown a little bit of his downside. Maybe he's getting a little bit slower, guys are getting faster, but bottom line is it's not a bad pickup in the safety position. So, we'll see if that can help bolster a little bit of the cornerback help here.
He's been productive. He's got 3 picks this year. So.
No, he has been productive. It's just, I go by the analyst, man. I'll be honest with you.
Understood.
All hearsay.
Understood.
All hearsay. On a quick note, the Cards staged a late comeback against the Niners. Big snooze fest, so that's all you got there. Not going to talk about you, Fitzy. Todd Gurley continued his reign as the Packers fell short, handing the Rams their first loss of the season with a little help from my friend, Ty Montgomery. Kind of ironic how he just got traded for a pity pick, at the end of the day today. So, 7th rounder's not going to really get you much, except maybe Mr. Irrelevant if that's the case. But aside from that, no one knows who you are here. Marcus Colston, what's up? But yeah, costly fumble, 2 minutes left in the game. Ty Montgomery, there's a lot of, we've all heard the media reports about it. Everyone's saying that he was supposed to take a knee, he was disgruntled, but now he's gone, out of Dodge, and you're starting to wonder what's going on in Green Bay. Are they starting to try to think about rebuilding here? I know that new GM's kind of in his first, year? So maybe he wants to start bringing his own guys in and get out some of Ted Thompson's knuckleheads, but it'd be interesting to see where they go, given the moves they made today in the division that's still up for grabs. They're a half a game out.
Yeah, I think the Montgomery trade was just, like you said, it's a guy that was disgruntled and had a huge costly play that, didn't allow us a chance to see Aaron Rodgers go down and potentially win the game, which maybe not for you guys. It sucks. For me, it doesn't really suck for you guys, but I really want to see that. I want to see good football. And
he wasn't playing anyway, so, it was, him leaving them, I don't think it's even really a factor.
No, it's not. But the fact that he got traded was he was either going to get cut if they didn't find somebody to trade him, because a 7th round pick, not next year's draft in 2020, that's the most irrelevant thing ever, because next year is a little more valuable than 2020. And then the Clinton Dix thing, I think that's just, it's a defense that hasn't been very good, so trying to shake things up. They might have some young guy that
they've got a ton of young guys in the
secondary. So. That need
they drafted
more
2
time.
corners in the first 2 rounds.
And,
So,
and I know the one's hurt, I believe, and the other one has been playing pretty well. So maybe it's just they want to shake things up in that secondary and see. And it all comes down to McCarthy. Once he's out of there, then they really can start to rebuild that thing.
Yeah, we'll see where they go here. But for the time, we'll be looking down at them. Cleveland Browns.
Boom, boom, boom.
Browns hour starts now.
Starts now.
Starts now.
Oh.
And the Cleveland lost their head coach and lost their offensive coordinator and hired a dipshit defensive coordinator as their head coach. So we're going to see how long he lasts there, because it's not the brightest tool in the shed there.
Yeah.
Sharpest tool in the shed? Brightest?
Yeah, either one.
Brightest
a
something.
bright one, a new tool, something that still has its shine to it, I guess.
Yeah, you got it.
But no, this is a chance now. We're going to see if Baker can do something now that we got a new offensive coordinator coming there. You've been disappointed with Landry. You've been disappointed with Chubb in his 2 games since the trade of Hyde. And then Duke Johnson's been irrelevant. So maybe this kind of gets some, and David Njoku as well. These 2 guys, Njoku and Duke Johnson in particular, were awful this past week. So maybe they get it going now with a new offensive coordinator in there. But let's keep in mind this is the Browns.
You're right. It is the Browns, and we'll see where they go now. I don't think it's going to be anywhere good, say that. But getting into the top 3 players of the week here. First off, quarterback, touching in on that Thursday night game, Deshaun Watson, 239, 5 TDs, like I said, 4 intercompletions. That's you throw more TDs than you throw incompletions, you got something going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a pretty good day.
Pat Mahomes, 303, 4 TDs. He had a pick, but just brushed that off. Took the W. It was a little bit of a close one, but they snuck away there. And a guy who's not really too good, but just had the stats to prove it for fantasy purposes, Derek Carr, 3 TDs and a rush TD here. So, I know you touched on Jared Cook last week being a big part of him improving and getting Amari Cooper out of there. Oh, Coopy Poopy.
Yeah, the thing about Carr there is he had a good matchup against Indy. Now he's got San Francisco, he's got Arizona coming up, so he's a guy that maybe, especially with these bad bye weeks that we have, the 16 bye weeks, he might be a guy that you just kind of plug in and pray, especially again this week against San Francisco. But I don't think this is anything to really get your hopes up if Derek Carr's turned the corner.
More of a surprise for a bye week, if anything. Running backs, James Conner, 146, 2 TDs. Also caught 5 for 66 and definitely handed me a loss in a very costly league. So, whatever, Breton. keep trucking along. Todd Gurley always showing his dominance and showing his way on the top 3 here. Just to touch on the 114, and then also went 6 for 81 and a TD.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget about the 2-point conversion, too.
Yeah,
So.
could have had a second TD. Of course, we all know it's been a hot topic. Screwed fantasy football owners, screwed the gambling nation. But he did the smart thing and went down. And then, of course, we have a good friend, Sasan, who has both James Conner and Todd Gurley. So he actually squeaked out a victory. But still, having those two guys is a nice start.
Yeah, when I saw him go down, I'm like, oh, there may be some sort of hope, but it wasn't the case.
No.
Lost by 5. Just shy. Adrian Peterson, man, father time here. 149, a TD and a reception TD. Guy's got some anger behind him. And, it's funny because he's never really been on such a potent passing offense. You know what I mean? When the Vikings were there, they never really had the type of weapons that, he could abide to. When he plays better, I feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, knowing that he's got to prove it and he's got to be the guy to go out there and take care of business.
So you're saying Percy Harvin wasn't a generational talent at the receiver position?
No.
He's probably a better receiver than the Redskins have, though.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
as long as he doesn't have the migraines.
Yeah.
I don't understand the AP thing at all. I don't know where it came from this year.
Well, it's a little bit of luck. Every other Washington running back's hurt, and he's just getting the opportunity. And, he's still showing he's got a little something. And this is what the greats do. They can play, past the age of 30 and still be productive.
Yeah, look at
Frank Gore's still doing it. Tiki Barber did it right towards the end. So a couple of guys can do it. It doesn't happen often, but AP's a special guy.
Last guy to top off who was kind of a tie for third, Marlon Mack, 132, 2 TDs. Back-to-back weeks, he's showing that, hey, come on, Andy, let's take this. So, be interesting to see how he fares here after his bye week. I think maybe they get a little bit of things together. T.Y. gets a little bit more healthy and can open up more opportunities for him. On the notable side of things, Joe Mixon also had a solid game, 2 TDs, 123, so got to give him a shout out on that one. Wide receivers, guy we talked about earlier, Mike Evans, 6 for 179, 1 TD. Guy just got the wheels. Evan owners probably were a little bit ticked off there for a couple of weeks seeing Jameis Winston come in, but the minute that first pass went to him, they're like, all right, we're good. We got some contention going here. Marvin Jones. Now, I think this game, I know there's other side issues, but I think the confidence in the GM in Detroit, having Marvin Jones go 7 for 117, 2 TDs, and had the season that he's been having, along with Galladay. That's where that trade kind of stems from. You know what I mean?
You're talking
the
about
production
Golden
they
Tate
got there.
trade.
Yeah.
I think Golden Tate was expendable not because of Galladay or Jones. More, they know Tate was at the end of his. This is the last year in Detroit.
Yeah, trade.
This is probably when Detroit is waving the white flag here. I think they don't really see them competing with the Vikings, the Bears, and the Packers. I mean, even though they're still right there in it, but you can't just give up a playmaker like that unless they believe T.J. Jones is going to be a very good play for them. Obviously, we know about Marvin Jones. We know about Galladay as those good outside threats, but now someone has to fill in that slot role, and they don't have a tight end really to do it, so maybe T.J. Jones is the greatest benefactor from that trade.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, Marvin Jones started out really good at the beginning of last year, and then he tapered off pretty quick and just kind of...
Well, he's a guy that needs to score touchdowns to be relevant, and I know he had a good stat line. He had 7 for 117 and 2 touchdowns, but that's not something you get a whole lot of with him. Is the receptions, the being that high, and the yardage. Usually it's somewhere in the 70 to 80 range with 1 touchdown. So this was his ceiling probably.
I agree.
Galladay's got the higher ceiling. He just needs to.
Yeah, absolutely.
He needs the targets.
I mean, when you're talking about Marvin Jones reaching his ceiling at 117 and 2 touchdowns,
that's the ceiling.
Yeah, Galladay can put up a 35-point week because he's got that ability. He's like a Mike Evans, AJ Green type talent.
Super athlete, long.
Well, let me ask you this. Does Kerryon Johnson, is he a big part of that confidence with them knowing that, like, hey, we can run the ball good? And if we just need, you know what I mean? It's like the guy's showing that he's holding up his end of the bargain. And I think that they're really comfortable, like, all right, we have some expendable. I think what they did was a great move, honestly.
Well, from the time they signed Tate to now, I mean, before this year, they never had a running game. So it was always basically the extended running game of the short passes to Tate. Now they have a running game and a receiving back in Johnson that can be really good. So, yeah, again, Tate becomes expendable because of that. So it's still a wait and see. Let's see what they do with that offense. Let's see if – you don't know if Galladay or Jones is going to have a big tick in targets. They probably will because there's a lot of targets leaving Detroit right now. But I think at the end of the day, it's either going to be Carrion or TJ Jones that really have a huge bump in the target share.
My number 3 for the week, kind of a tie, another tie, two close guys. Tyler Boyd, reemerging, 9 for 138 and a TD. And Sammy Watkins, 8 for 107 and 2 TDs. Sammy Watkins, this is the first game he's kind of came out. So I really want to kind of highlight his efforts there, especially with, Tyreek Hill getting a little bit banged up there. So are his targets going to go up a lot more? You know what I mean? Or is, they're going to rely on Kareem Hunt maybe a little bit more, or Travis Kelce? Because Kelce was a big proponent in that offense prior to having a weapon on the outside, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So that's something I was wondering about. Because Tyler Boyd's shown that he can produce.
Oh, yeah. Boyd's been a solid
20 pointers for
receiver,
at least
2
5
at the worst.
games.
Yeah. Watkins does this. He did it in Buffalo. He did it last year in L.A. He has these games where he just blows up. He's got that ability. But the inconsistency has always been really big for him. So I like to see more consistency from him before I anoint him a wide receiver 1 or even wide receiver 2. Mm-hmm. Now, if Hill misses a little bit of time here, that might change things a little bit too. But as of right now, with a healthy Hill, Watkins is still a wide receiver 3 flex fringe guy.
Yeah. What's your thoughts there, Matt?
If Hill is out, I think Watkins is a wide receiver 1. But if Hill's still there, he's the leftovers guy after Kelce, Hunt, and
he's the 4th guy, yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if anyone, when Tariq goes down, it's going to be Kelce, whose production is going to pick up a lot more. And we'll see what Hunt can do, because he's going to have a lot on his shoulders to kind of try to move the chains. Now that we covered our ballers of the week, what you got going on over there, Brad? Who's slipping?
Well, you kind of touched on Jameis Winston here with the Fitzmagic coming back. Jameis he threw for 276 yards. He only had 1 touchdown and 4 picks. And the big one, the last pick he threw was a pick 6. And that was it. That was the last straw. And Fitzpatrick came in, and Fitzmagic is back. Breeze got the win, but only 120 yards, touchdown, interception. First interception of the year. And then Flacco, I thought, disappointed. I know you're probably not expecting a whole lot out of him, but against Pittsburgh, he didn't have a very good game, and that's disappointing.
Just to grant Pittsburgh a little bit there, I know they played like boneheads on a couple plays the past couple weeks, but they're slowly coming together, the defense and offense. The defense knows they got to play now that the offense is clicking, and I think that's the big thing that's kind of like, all right, you better step the fuck up. But
yeah, so that's the quarterbacks. Running backs, I got 2 names here. Duke Johnson, I touched on him when we were talking about the firings in Cleveland. He only had 2 carries and 2 receptions. He is far too much of a playmaker to only get 4 touches. You got to find a way to get him the ball. So that's the disappointing part there. It's not that you expected a huge number from him, but 4 touches is the disappointing part. And then Saquon Barkley, he finally had a game where he really didn't do a whole lot. 13 carries, 38 yards. Averaging under 3 yards a carry is not going to do it for, the number 2 overall draft pick. And then lastly, here we got 6 receivers. Going to run through them here. They all are guys who are on your roster for sure.
The entire NFL.
And some people started these guys. Galladay being one of them. He only had 1 reception, 12 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster, only 4 receptions for 33. A guy I was very high on last week, Doug Baldwin, 2 for 26. John Brown's been a very nice player. He was only 3 for 28. Jarvis Landry continues to be up and down and disappoint along with the Cleveland Browns. He had 8 receptions, only 39 yards.
Yeah, good in the PPR format as far as having to use him as a 2, but yeah, it's really scary to see what his.
You don't get the PPR. You're sitting there at 3.4.
I'd sell quick on so low if I got to on Landry. I don't think they're going to put it together here. I think get something while you can. I should say sell high. Well, if there is even is a high,
you're selling low right now.
Sell mid.
I think you got to hold on to him and hope he has a big week with this new offense, and then ship him out. Like Marvin Jones right now is a guy you ship out. Because people are all excited because Tate's gone. He had a huge game. That's the guy you trade right now. Landry's low. You're going to wait a week and see if he can blow up. Then trade him. And then last guy here, T.Y. Hilton. The Colts scored 42 points, and T.Y. had 1 catch for 34 yards.
Yeah.
That's an attribute to Mack kind of coming along here, and Nyheim Hines had a nice game as well. So,
well, think about it too. Like you said, when the running game's picking up the slack, and Ty, who's come off a lingering injury for the past 3 weeks, it's good. It's good that he's not getting that much involved here. You know what I mean? Because it does show that he came back if he had to kind of do what he had to do, whether it was stretch the field, even though he wasn't getting the ball, he was going to go out and do that. But the ability for a running team, well, it's kind of weird to say running team because the Colts never are, but for the running backs on that team to kind of just pick up the slack and, coast him through one more week. Now he's got a bye week to hopefully heal up.
Yep.
Hopefully, I'm thinking when he comes back, he's going to be all right. But it is a little bit eye-catching because I know a lot of people drafted him in the second round-ish, you know what I mean, in some leagues. And dependable guy.
All right, so that's all our fallers for this week. Now we're going to move on to the injuries, and there's a couple of significant injuries. We're going to start with a guy who's on bye this week. A.J. Green's a big name. He suffered a toe injury. He was in a walking boot after the game. Right now, we don't know what it is. Might be turf toe. If it is turf toe, that's going to probably require a couple weeks after the bye here. So that's something to keep an eye on. But like I said, he's on the bye right now, so maybe he gets healthy week 10. It's no big deal. Big injury. Tyreek Hill, he strained his groin late in that game against Denver, and that's an injury that, like the hamstring, that it could linger a little bit, and especially with a guy as fast as he is, who's not going to be the greatest route runner, is just going to rely on his speed. That could really affect him here, and maybe Sammy Watkins, like we were talking about.
It's all that twerking, man. All that twerking.
Then Cooper Kupp has missed. He missed last week. Sean McVay says he thinks he's going to go this week. I'm very high on him this week. I think he does play. Rojo down in Tampa, he strained his hamstring, so he was starting to get things going here. Becomes irrelevant again. And then got Chris Thompson hurt his ribs. You talked about him earlier. So it's these ticky-tack injuries for him that are just keeping him in limbo every single week. So that's the little injuries. The big injury, of course, unfortunately, was Will Fuller, and we talked about that. Tore his ACL, done for the year. With that being said, the Texans went out there. They got Demaryius Thomas for a couple picks, and now he's going to be apparently the guy that stretches the field.
Kind of scary there, but kind of scary that they're relying on that here. I mean, if you're looking for a viable pass catcher, he can catch the ball, but as far as, doing what he used to do, beating teams down the sidelines. Who was it? Pittsburgh back in the day on the game winner from Tebow. I mean, yeah, that shit just
we gotta pray.
Happen anymore.
We got to take a moment to pray. Some Tebow style.
Amen.
But,
ooh,
Tebow.
None of that here.
None of that. Anyway, kind of significant injury there. Wondering what's going to happen. His fantasy value is definitely going to go up. People are saying it's going, even more, but I don't see it really going that high. I mean, the guy's got to, for one, get into a new system here, and by that time, they're going to realize, like, shit, we just gave up too many picks for him. So
I wouldn't go anywhere near him.
Yeah.
Well, I was asked today what this does for Kiki Cutie's value, and I don't think it really changes it at all. I think when he's back, he's going to be that slot guy, that underneath guy that gets all the receptions. Demaryius is just going to be an outside guy along with DeAndre Hopkins. So it doesn't change Cutie there. It doesn't really change anything for the Texans. What it does, obviously, the big change is Courtland Sutton now is going to be on the field, going to be opposite, well, whoever the other outside guy is, because Emmanuel Sanders is more of a slot guy. But Sutton is now going to be on the field a hell of a lot more. He's going to get a lot more targets. And this is a guy that if you stashed, you're waiting on him, like our co-host here, Matt, did. He might actually bear some fruit for you the rest of the year.
Sutton is a guy that reminds me a lot of Galladay because he's a big, long athlete that has already made some highlight reel catches this year.
Absolutely.
He had that 140-yard catch that was crazy. He had that kind of crazy mishap where he tried to do the hook and ladder and fumble it away, but he's waiting to break out.
Heard some comparisons to Alshon, when he was a rookie, when he had those two standout years, and watched a little bit of film on him, and I'm like, wow, this guy he's got some of that athleticism that, a lanky player typically doesn't have, and I think you're right. I mean, between Sanders and Sutton, that could definitely turn the Broncos' season around here, kind of put more focus on them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so that's the big one there. Obviously, we kind of already talked about Tate. He's going to Philadelphia. So If you were hoping to play Tate this week, unfortunately now he has the bye, so you got to wait another week on him.
Yeah, it
so
got me.
the not back to back, but 2 bye weeks out of this guy now for you. That hurts. Who benefits the most from this? We already talked about the Lions guys benefiting. What does this do to Philly? That's the question now.
Well, I think Philly's going to be more of a they already are more of a passing team, even though the receivers really aren't too good outside of Alshon Jeffrey. You know what I mean? Aguilar has just gotten some BS passes and turned it into 80 yards. Clement, not feeling. Smallwood, he has like an opening maybe once or twice a game. So it's something that Carson really can't rely on. Ertz is showing his dominance here that we all thought he was going to do. So I think between him, Tate, and Alshon, that's a nice solid 3 players there. You know what I mean? That's something that they can build on. And maybe that does open up the game for them running backs. But I think it's a great move, and I think it's a move they had to do on their part because Aguilar just hasn't done anything, man.
I think Tate fills the Aguilar role that they wanted the Eagles, or that the Eagles wanted Aguilar to do since they drafted him in the first round, and he's just kind of busted out or been more average than, and he's so fast. He is, so I think he's the number 2 guy there immediately. He takes a lot of those big plays that Jordan Matthews has been getting the last few weeks. So I think I think that's a big pickup. I think that'll be good.
I think now if you have Aguilar on your team, just go ahead and drop him. You got the waivers coming up here. He's not worth rostering at this point. What I'd like to see is, since Tate is so damn good in the slot, and you have Dallas Goedert there as the other tight end, I'd like to see them line up Ertz wide more, and let's see him go one-on-one with a cornerback and just dominate that guy.
Some old school Jimmy Graham style.
Exactly. As opposed to just running up against the linebackers and safeties every week or every single snap. So that's one thing I think they can do now. They're going to be a lot. Doug Peterson's really creative, and I think they're going to find ways to get all these guys going at the same time, because especially if they don't have a run game really to make any noise. So it's going to be a lot of passing. So this is why they went out there and got a guy like Tate, because they are having to throw the ball a lot. And you know what? Carson Wentz is probably the happiest guy out of all this.
I'll tell you what, too, when you're trailing the Redskins here, albeit it's by a game, you got to make a move somehow or another. You know what I mean? Given Ajayi going down, not really establishing a run game, something's got to pick up, man. You know, the defense is holding strong. So now that you're getting your team back together, especially Wentz coming back from injury, you know, I know it's been 4 weeks or whatever, but still getting a little bit more momentum in their step. So be interesting to see here. Well, Brad, how can these assholes get a hold of us? Leave us hate mail.
Real quickly here, I also want to touch on, we talked about Montgomery going to the Ravens. Dante Fowler's going to the Rams.
This ruins my float, man. It's like,
we talked about going to Washington. Last week, Wednesday, Damon Harris was traded from the Giants to Detroit. So those are all the trades that went down. And now, if you do want to get a hold of us...
Wait, hold on a second. So you interrupted the flow to talk about fucking Damon Harris?
Harrison. Yes.
For what relevance there?
They're trades that happen.
Holy cow.
Trades that happen. People need
will you
to know.
enlighten us on some practice squad trades, too, or some guys that got called up due to...
yeah, because practice squad guys are routinely see the field.
I just want to make sense of this, so go ahead.
Speaking of ruining the flow here, I'm trying to get all these people send us an email or something.
So you know how to edit that. There you go.
He doesn't listen. He just plugs it in. We're on Twitter. That's at fantasy_hustle. If you go on our Twitter page, you'll see our voicemail, which is 219-576-6797, and our email, which is Jon, Jon, G's fantasyhustle at thegmail.com.
There's no H. Well. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's time for our favorite segment. Who you got?
Who you got? Hey, who do you got?
What's in the box?
Who you got?
Hey, who you got? Hey, man, who you got?
Who you got?
I'm going to tell you who I got.
No, I'm going to tell you who you got.
Who you got?
We're going to start off with some quarterbacks here. So, like a little help from you guys here, we got Dak Prescott rolling in, or at home against Tennessee, or Matthew Stafford going into Minnesota.
Go ahead, Matt.
Stafford, easily. Dak Prescott is terrible. I think he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
But he's got Amari Cooper now.
Yeah.
I don't care.
The Amari Cooper factor. He's got Amari Cooper, and Stafford doesn't have Tate.
He had Cole Beasley
before, good.
And that didn't make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's because
I just asked the questions. I just asked them.
Yeah, you're spot on here. Dak Dakota. He sucks.
Rain.
And I think, if anything here, this Titans team isn't very good either. So this is going to be one of those games I can very easily see like them mucking it up, them giving the Zeke a lot. The Titans try to get Lewis and Henry going, and it's just going to be a slow. It's a Monday night game too, so great primetime games this week. So don't bother wasting your time with that. And this way, if you don't play Dak, you don't have to watch that game. So absolutely go with Stafford here. You know, he lost Tate, but he still has good weapons. Carry-on's been, a breath of fresh air there. So Stafford is probably the better play here, even though Minnesota's a very good team, and they got to go, obviously, up to Minneapolis to play them. So I'll go Stafford as well.
Okay. I like it. No one likes Dakota Rain anyway, so.
Absolutely.
And his Campbell commercials.
They're awful.
You know, they're shaking their head right now like, damn it, we should have just waited one more year.
Well, at least it's not Derek Carr.
All righty. Next quarterback, Matt, who you got?
In my quarterback matchup?
Yeah.
Jared Goff at New Orleans or Matt Ryan at Washington.
Go ahead, ladies first, Brad.
All right. On paper, obviously the matchup screams to go with Goff here. He's got great weapons. They're going to New Orleans. They're, kind of struggling a little bit defensively. But I love Matt Ryan. I've been high on Matt Ryan all year. I think he's having a phenomenal year. And I think he's going to go in there, coming out of the bye here, and just, really, really do good things here. I think he's going to light it up. He's going to hit Julio for the first touchdown of the year for Julio, and he's also going to find Ridley for a couple of scores as well. Like I said, Washington has a very good run-stopping defense, so maybe just don't even try to run it at all. Maybe a run here or there, maybe to set up play action, but just throw it. Throw it 50 times. Let Matt Ryan win this game for you. Give me Matt Ryan.
Top 10 passing defense, though, in Washington.
I understand that, but
bottom 10 for New Orleans.
I do understand that, but I think Matt Ryan is a special player, and Jared Goff looks like he's very good as well.
You just kept putting more gas on the lawnmower there, Matt.
But you know what Goff has that Matt Ryan doesn't have? Todd Gurley that could run for 200 yards and make Goff irrelevant.
Point well made.
Well, I'm going to have to go with Jared Goff in this situation here. I think that he's going to handle New Orleans. Cooper Kupp's supposed to be coming back this week here. Todd Gurley is just a machine. And Matty Ice, like you said, you mentioned Julio hasn't scored a touchdown this week. Yeah, I mean, that kind of scares me there. The running game hasn't picked up. I know Tevin Coleman had a nice couple runs here, but what has he done prior the whole year? He hasn't done shit. So I don't have that confidence in him, especially in that Washington defense there. And that's going to kind of elicit Matt Ryan's options out there. They got a really good pass defense. Be interesting to see if they throw claw hitting dicks. You like that?
I do. I kind of like that. Claw
hitting dicks.
That's the name I'm going to name my next son.
Well, he can go out into them safety zones, man. He could just play center field out there if he had to. You know what I mean? So he's another guy that they can kind of throw out there. So I got to go with Goff for sure.
All right. That's helping. That's advice for Brian Past, who we all know very well. So
he's going to get a good game out of that either way, I think.
I bet you told me to start Goff.
Brad.
All right, moving on to the running backs here. My 2-pack is Phillip Lindsay versus the Texans or Latavius Murray versus the Lions.
I like Latavius. I think he's got the better matchup. Houston's D is still pretty tough against the run. Detroit's isn't, even though they acquired Damon Harrison in that big trade that you mentioned earlier, Brad.
Thank you.
Gigantic.
But, I think Murray's the guy. He's getting all the carries. So if Cook isn't back, which doesn't look like he's going to be this week, I think it's him for sure. He's the guy. He's running it, and he's also their only back in the passing game that they use. So,
well, the significant thing here is both Cook and Freeman look like they're going to be out. So it's going to be Lindsay and Murray's show for both situations. That's why I thought this was a interesting one. John?
Well, now that I have the mic, I'd like to just say that I think I'm going to go with Lindsay.
Oh.
I think Lindsay's played pretty progressive there for the Broncos offense that has kind of been elusive as far as who's going to take over that role here. I think the Freeman injury has been pretty good on his hands because it's kind of been like, hey, give me the ball. Give me at least 10, 15 times a game. You're going to catch me on screen passes. Bring Booker in, give me a little bit of help. And I think he just kind of shown that, hey, I got a chip on my shoulder. I was undrafted. You drafted Freeman in what, first, second round?
Third round.
Third round?
Yeah.
I was getting there.
Yeah, eventually. 7th round.
I was a number away, but I know it was a little bit higher. But honestly, I think that Lindsey's going to have that game. I agree with you, Matt. I agree about the front that the Texans have here, and Watt's only getting better as this year is going on here. But I think one way or another, maybe getting Sutton out there, maybe having people running different routes is going to help things out here.
The offense is going to change. Lindsey's he's just so small. I think he's going to. I don't know.
Look at Tariq, man.
Yeah,
look at Tariq.
He's not like Tariq though.
You mentioned Latavius.
Well, no one is.
Latavius is their only passing option there, but Philip Lindsay is just terrific as a pass catcher. So if he gets, let's say, 15 to 20 carries, throwing another 10 targets, and that could very easily happen. Although he's not. The best thing about Lindsay is if they're down a lot or if they're up a lot, he's going to get his touches.
Yeah.
Murray, if they're down big, which may not happen, you can easily just phase him out and just go Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph, Treadwell, whatever.
What's name the offensive line?
I don't know that one.
Okay. Next running back. Who you got for us, Matt?
The aforementioned Tariq Cohen at Buffalo, or the resurgent Lamar Miller at Denver. I think you know who I like.
I think I know who you like. I'll tell you what, the Denver defense is playing a little bit better than they started out. I mean, they got some people on that side of the ball. Von Miller stepped up a handful this year here. And Lamar Miller has resurged. I mean, it's kind of scary because it's like, wow, I can't believe. I was thinking if I had him, there was probably a point where I was like, I'd probably drop Lamar Miller right now.
200-yard games in a row after he was throwing out like 15 carried 50-yard games.
Yeah. So. No, definitely. That's what I'm saying. It just shocks me. And that inconsistency is just lingering there, and I just don't think he's going to come back this week.
You can't trust it.
Can't at all. But who you can trust? Lord Tariq Cohen, baby. I'm sorry. That dude is a monster. Little monster, but he's a fucking monster. And he's going to run all over Peterman and the shitty-ass Bills defense.
I don't think Peterman's going to be in there for the defense.
Oh, he's going to be running on the sidelines.
He's going to be running after all the people that intercept his passes.
Ah, there you go.
You don't talk, boy.
Well, unless you don't make sense, then I'll...
Well, then you'd be talking the whole show, so we can't get into that. But no, honestly, Cohen going into the Bills, Peterman's not going to have any success as good as the Bears' defense is, which is going to, in correlation, give fucking Howard and Cohen an efficient amount of carries here between both of them. And I think that it's going to be a huge stat game, as we used to say when we played Crown Point back in the day. No offense, Matt.
That's okay.
But, yeah.
So
Cohen, I'll start rambling on.
All right, you say the Broncos have been better of late. They gave up back-to-back 200-yard rushing games a couple weeks ago. Then they destroyed the Cardinals, and David Johnson was completely taken out of that game. And then Kareem Hunt just went off on them. So I don't know how they're playing better. But
mentally.
Okay. The thing that I look at with this matchup, Miller, what he's going. He's going up against probably a pretty poor run defense. And the Texans are rolling right now. They got a good offense. They're going to get him involved, do some things. And that is, something that you can kind of look at and say, I'm going to play this guy with confidence because of that offense. Now, Cohen's been very good. I have one factor here that would really change things. Tremaine Edmonds for the Bills. If he plays, that gives me a little pause because I think he can, in the passing game, go with Cohen.
That's despicable.
I think he can do a much better job than other like the Jets defense and the
White is nothing compared to Tariq Cohen for the record. So
now if he doesn't,
keep going.
If Edmonds is out, he's got a concussion. If Edmonds is out of this game, I'd go Cohen without thinking about it. But if he's in there, I'm going Lamar Miller because I think this is a game the Texans will win easily, and I think it'll just be run. And if the Bears are up big, it'll be Howard, not Cohen, getting all the run.
Well, based on the last 4 games, Tremaine Edmonds only recorded 4 tackles, which hasn't been too efficient, but he's chased guys to the sidelines, even though their 40s weren't really too accurate. So, those.
I'm worried about a Howard taking his carries away, but it hasn't. They're going to use him.
You expect
they're going to split no matter what, and even when they split,
you expect the Bears to get up big, and if they do, just like this past week, you're just going to ride Howard for the last 20 minutes, fourth quarter there, and let him do everything and just kind of keep Cohen, because he's a little guy, just like Philip Lindsay, and he can take a shot and be done. And that's the last thing you need if you're Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears, is to lose that guy. You're Tyreek Hill. So that's who we got. I like Miller. John, you like Cohen.
I was wondering where you're going. You're going to wrap back into who the fuck you were taking.
You want to start the receivers off?
Sure. Sammy Watkins at Cleveland or Calvin Ridley at Washington.
Okay, Watkins, we talked about him a little bit. If Hill's out, he should be better. The thing that worries me here, Cleveland's pass defense has been pretty good, and I think if Denzel Ward gets that assignment, which I don't know if he will, that could be a little scary. I'd rather see Denzel Ward on Tyreek Hill and let Watkins fly and let him do his thing. But I already mentioned, I think Matt Ryan's going to have a very good game. I think he's going to get Ridley going. And I can't now back off and say, no, well, Ridley's going to have a good game with Matt Ryan, but give me Sammy Watkins. I'll take Ridley here. I think he could easily score 2 touchdowns and maybe 80-some yards, and that'll be better than whatever Watkins gives you.
Interesting. What about you, Matt?
I think if Hill is out, Watkins is the guy for sure. He's going to take Hill's targets. They'll use him just like they use Hill. I think Washington's pass defense is really good, so that limits me on Ridley a little bit, who's been down after his huge start and all those. I think he caught like 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks or something. 5 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
3 and 2.
So I go Watkins here, probably either way, just because I'm in more prove it from Calvin Ridley mode right now.
I understand that for sure. He's definitely trended downwards, while Watkins is in a perfect position to kind of take advantage of the situation. So I'm liking Watkins' play there.
All right, our final who you got here, another receiver, Chris Godwin going to Carolina with Fitzmagic back in full force. Or I know you want us to talk more about Dallas, so Amari Cooper going against the Titans on Monday Night Football.
Go ahead, Matt.
I think Fitzmagic being back doesn't help Chris Godwin. I think that helps Mike Evans. It helps Deshaun Jackson most. I think he's still the 4th guy there. Maybe even after O.J. Howard, too. So even though I don't really like Amari Cooper, I would take him. Just maybe he has like a adrenaline big game type thing going on in his first game in Dallas.
Well, let me ask you this. How many team league is this? Is this like a 10-team league you're asking?
Yeah, it is a 10-team league.
Tell them to drop both of them.
Well, Chris,
because there's got to be a better option out there.
Chris Godwin had a touchdown in all 3 of the first games of the season. That's why I think him and Fitzpatrick are a better fit than him and Jameis Winston. So I think that is the only reason this is I mean, again, this is a 6-team bye week, so a lot of people got tough situations.
I understand there's tough situations, but if you had to play somebody, as Matt just, to reiterate what Matt just said, they're both awful plays here.
Are you going to drop Cooper? Would you drop Cooper?
No, but I would drop Godwin for sure. I would drop Godwin, and I'd pick someone up in the likings of, I'm sure Devontae Parker's still out there.
You'd play Parker over Godwin.
I would play Parker over Godwin.
With Osweiler throwing the ball? I know you were really impressed by Osweiler a couple weeks ago.
I was so impressed that it hurt. But
Can I get a sound effect? Come on. There's got to be a bazinga on there.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Not funny. But, yeah, I mean, I would look at the waiver wire, honestly, instead of playing them. I mean, I don't trust the Fitzmagic. I don't think that's going to have anything to do with anything. You touched on who the weapons are there. And when you start talking about them weapons, you're talking about O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, 4th and 5th options that I think are a little bit better than Godwin there. Yeah, just tough. I'm going to have to say go to waiver wire. I don't think it's ever been said before, but go to the wire on that one. Well, given that was the last who you got.
Who you got?
Who you got?
Who you got?
Now we're going to roll into our top plays of the week, top 3 players. So real quick on the quarterback side of things, who you got, Brad? Who's your top 3 sleepers to play this week?
Cam's been really good lately. I'm going to say he keeps it rolling going against Tampa. That's an easy one for me. Matt Ryan, obviously we talked about him in the who you got. I don't care who he's playing right now. He's putting up good numbers. He's been very good. He's my number 2. And Rusty Wilson. Came back, only threw 17 balls, but had a very productive game, and I think he's going to continue to do that now that Baldwin's healthy. I know Baldwin did a whole lot, but he's got the Chargers coming in this week, who have been a team that you can score on. So those are my three.
I gotcha. Got to go with Rusty Wilson. Number one, I agree with you there. Going into the Chargers, I think he's going to have a good game. He's turned things around quite a bit. I think him and Pete Carroll are starting to click a little bit more. Jared Goff, who was mentioned earlier on the Who You Got segment, going into New Orleans, I think he's going to definitely have some options. And, when you give a man a good weaponry on the offensive side of the ball and then you just stack him up with just a, Pro Bowl defense, you got a lot to work with there. So his opportunity is going to be tenfold. And this next one, I'm going to have to go with Dak Prescott. This is going to be the game Dak Prescott actually does something for once against Tennessee. So,
but you don't like Amari Cooper?
I don't.
Who's he throwing to?
Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley. No, Zeke Elliott's going to catch 150 receiving yards. We'll see what happens here. But
it's a lot of screen pass.
That's worse than you taking Cam Meredith a couple weeks ago.
Hey, brother. Clock's turning. It's not Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, nobody's picking Brock Osweiler.
It's not
Brock Osweiler is probably going to have a better game.
All right.
You want mine?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Okay. Phillip Rivers at Seattle, coming off a bye. Seattle's secondary has been better. They surprised me against Detroit, but Rivers in that offense is so good. They have so many weapons. He only has 2 picks on the year, so I think he's going to have a great game. Drew Brees versus the Rams. I think he'll throw for more than 120 yards this week. I think it'll be more of a shootout versus the Rams. They've kind of just been average on D. And then Cam Newton versus Tampa Bay is probably the best play of all time. DJ Moore is coming up. I think he's going to turn into his number one guy soon, and he needs to throw the ball to McCaffrey more, and they got a lot of big plays waiting to happen there.
All right. I like that. Kicking into the running backs here, I'm going to go with James White against Green Bay here. I think it's going to be a good time for him to kind of pick them apart. Easily has become one of Brady's favorite weapons there, so I really like what he's got going for him. I'd like to see Alvin Kamara kind of get back onto things. I know he's got a tough matchup there, but I think they're going to have to use him on them short screen passes. I look for him to kind of dominate on that side of the ball. I know, given the matchup, the only reason why I kind of want to go his route in my top 3 is, it's a tough matchup, but I think he's going to kind of pull through on that side of things. So Kamara owners should definitely keep him rolling. And Kenyon Drake, Mr. Miami, look for him to kind of keep that trend going here. I'm hoping that he can pick things up. And the Jets we saw weren't really too good on the run game. So, look for them to move forward here. Who you got, Matt?
Christian McCaffrey at Tampa Bay. I think he gets more involved in the passing game here. I think he has 100 yards rushing for the first time since Week 5. A lot of big plays waiting to happen against Tampa Bay, so I think he finally has a huge game. Kerryon Johnson at Minnesota. I think he bounces back this week. I think he gets increased work with Golden Tate gone, and then Tariq Cohen. I love him so much.
And why are you asking?
I love him.
I just love him because I know that you hate him. You've always hated
him. Hate him.
You never liked him. You said he was the worst pick of the draft.
I did say that
worst pick of the
that
draft.
Was a bad pick of in your draft, but you had a very good draft. So it was very hard for me to find a good pick. I mean, look at your team. Obviously, listeners, you can't look at his team, but my running backs, I'm going to go with the man that's found the fountain of youth, Adrian Peterson. I think Washington's rolling right now. They've got some things figured out with that offense. They're running it very efficiently. And this is a guy that can do good things. And they're playing Atlanta, who's pretty putrid. I know they're a lot better. They're better against the run than the pass, but nobody in Washington's going to throw. I mean, who's Alex Smith throwing to? So give me AP number 1. You went with Kamara, John. I'm going with Ingram. I think this is more of a game where Ingram can shine against the Rams.
Surprise, surprise.
Okay. I think this is more of a game that suits Ingram, where you can run straight up the middle, even though they have Donald and Sue. You can run more between the tackles and find the holes there. Those guys over pursuing, trying to get to the quarterback. And then lastly, I like Alex Collins. I know they just traded for Ty Montgomery, but I don't think that does anything for Buck Allen and Alex Collins here. And I think Collins is due for a big game. It hasn't happened in a couple weeks. Pittsburgh maybe trying to think they're getting back into the division, but the Ravens are going to put their foot down and take first place back.
Sounds good. Matt, who you got on wide receivers?
Mike Evans at Carolina. I think he's the main benefactor of Fitzmagic being back. He's had 24 targets, 13 catches, 186 yards, and a touchdown over the last 2 weeks. So, incredible numbers. I think he keeps it up.
Definitely.
Jarvis Landry versus Kansas City. He's going up against a perfect team. 15 targets, 10 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown versus Tampa Bay, which is a very similar defense. I think he has a similar game. And then Kenny Galladay at Minnesota. He's had 3 targets and 3 catches for 49 yards over the last 2 weeks, so he has to get more work with Tate gone.
I like those picks. Brad, who you got?
I'm going to go John Brown, number 1 here. I think he bounces back in a big way. I think Crabtree draws Joe Hayden, and that opens up Joe Brown to have a good game. I like Cooper Kupp coming back off the injury here. If he plays, I'm assuming he will. I like him to have a monster game against the Saints and get things rolling there. And maybe, kind of what he was a couple weeks ago before he got hurt. He put up those back-to-back monster games. And lastly, like Matt, I like Landry in a very good matchup against KC. Again, I said this a couple weeks ago, if he doesn't do it, and he actually did it, if he doesn't do it now, you might as well forget about him. So this is his one last shot again to do it.
Okay. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs going into, hosting Detroit. I think that Thielen show, which we forgot to mention, he did break the record for his 8th consecutive 100-yard game.
To start the season, yep.
Which is pretty awesome.
Ties him with Calvin. Megatron.
Yeah. No sense.
Yeah. It's crazy. Can't believe it, man. But I think Diggs he's always shown the part when Thielen has huge games. He kind of fouls up in suit a couple games here and there, and I think this is that game to kind of take a little pressure off there. Second guy, Robert Woods. I know we're talking about a couple different Rams receivers, but, man, Robert Woods has just always shown that consistency, and he's always been the guy when either Kupp or if Cooks goes out, he's that guy who's always in there in that Goff's able to trust. So I look for him to have a pretty solid game here. And my last guy, I got to go with Julian Edelman. He seems to be the receiver of choice. Gronk is really not favored in the Patriots game plan now. And I think that could be particular why, the rumors of the Patriots trying to move him, could they been rumors, or are they really thinking like, hey, I think we can win without this guy? He does take away a little bit of the defenders and makes, some of them linebackers kind of trench down the field a little bit more, but I think that Edelman getting back and the confidence that Brady and him have together, I think he's going to have at least, 10 receptions here from here on out. I mean, he's clearly shown that he's his favorite target. So Josh Gordon's out there to kind of take a little bit of a distraction, keep cornerbacks conscious, but yeah, look for him to kind of tear that shit up. Tear it up. Well, now that we went through our top 3, wrapping into our picks of the week here. Going to be an interesting week here. Kind of awful Thursday night game here. We got the Oakland Raiders, San Francisco 49ers. Who you got, Brad?
I'm going to try very hard not to watch this game and just hope at the end of the day San Francisco wins because I'm picking them.
I don't want to talk about this game. It's San Francisco.
Just gets tied then. I'm going to go with the Raiders. I'm going to be the dark horse and say that the Raiders are possibly going to win just for spite for Brad. Detroit Lions going into Minnesota.
Minnesota rebounds here after that tough game against New Orleans. I think they're going to try to get back in this division and bury Detroit and make it a 3-team race.
Minnesota's a team. They're better. I just think they win pretty easy this game, probably 20 points.
Yeah, you know what? I think the division games are a little bit tougher here, and I think that losing Golden Tate this week is not going to help him out. I mean, he was a big distraction. The Bears looked up by not having to play him this year because he just attracts certain defenders. Minnesota is starting to pick things up here. The prognosis of, Cook coming back here, week 10, 11-ish, they're talking. I think that's kind of helping them pick things up here, and they kind of got out of their little slump that they started in. So I got to go with the Vikings, man. Steelers heading into Baltimore to the second best coach in the NFL's house.
Yeah, and guess who's going to win this game? Of course it's Baltimore. They have the better coach. They don't have the better quarterback. They have the better coach, and I think they have a very good defense. It's going to frustrate Ben Roethlisberger, who sucks on the road. So give me the Ravens at home.
I like the Steelers. I think their defense is coming together, and their offense has been rolling. So I like the Steelers here.
I like that. I'm going to go with the Steelers here. I think the Ravens are too wishy-washy here, and I think that, for one, Tomlin is a better coach than Harbaugh, so that's my second vote there. So I don't really need to explain too much, but Connor's going down this week, unfortunately, for his owner, so Le'Veon Bell's coming back. Jets going into Miami.
Miami beat them in East Rutherford, and they'll beat them down in Miami. Miami wins this game with or without, well, Ryan Tannehill. Osweiler's going to win the game. Sorry.
A little excited over there, huh?
I am.
I watched an entire New York Jets football game this last Sunday, and that makes me think that they're going to lose to Miami.
It's brutal.
Yeah. Oh, they're bad.
Transitive properties.
You have to watch an entire Bills game this week.
I'm kind of interested in that one. But this is showcasing two terrible teams. So albeit one of them beat Chicago, the future Super Bowl champ. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Miami.
Future in 2050.
Hey, calmer than you are. Kansas City Chief heading into the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland sucks. Kansas City's very good. Kansas City wins.
Even without Tyreek Hill, I think Kansas City wins this one pretty easily. They have a pretty good quarterback.
I think the practice squad could probably beat the Browns.
They do have a pretty good quarterback.
I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs, even with their backup. Chicago Bears going into Buffalo.
Nate Peterman probably going to get the start. Rest Khalil Mack. You don't need him. Bears can win with me and John and Matt as the defensive line.
Promising. I think that's a guarantee there. What you got, Matt?
With Nathan Peterman starting, the Bills shouldn't score a point, I would hope.
No.
So
I can see that happening.
They'll be down 30-0 with 3 minutes left and get down into the red zone and settle for a field goal because why not?
That's fine.
My prediction, Benny Cunningham runs for 100 yards. Tampa Bay going into Carolina.
Absurd prediction. Now this is a game where I'm gonna buy into the hype of the Fitzmagic. I think it's real. I think this guy is incredible under the right circumstances when there's no pressure on him. Let's face it, like he knows right now this is his time to shine. So he's gonna go out there and just do him. And I think Carolina's kind of riding high right now, but I think this is a dogfight. I think it's not a dogfight. I think it's a shootout, and I'll take Tampa Bay to win this one.
Wow. I agree. I think Fitzmagic is going to come in and throw the ball as far as he can and try and let Mike Evans or Deshaun Jackson run underneath it. But I love Carolina this week. I think Cam is going to have a huge game. I think Carolina has the better athletes to win a shootout, and I think they'll win by 20 points.
Wow, that's a hell of a shootout.
That's a shootout.
It's like
if it were a shootout, I think Tampa Bay is going to score, but Carolina, they're better.
So you don't want to play either of these defenses this week?
Yeah, pass.
Yeah. I got to go with Carolina here. I think Tampa Bay just does not have it together, and anyone in their right mind would know to not bet on Tampa Bay this week. The Fitzmagic ain't going to happen. Mike Evans owners, yeah, you're going to get probably some decent yards, some decent fantasy points, but they can't hang with the Panthers here. This is going to be an easy one. Atlanta going into Washington.
Yeah, I'm pretty big on the road teams this week, apparently. I like Atlanta to go there. I know we've been talking up Washington all week. Or, not all week. All this whole hour-long podcast here. But I love Matt Ryan. I love Julio scoring his first touchdown. We talked about that. So give me them again in another high-scoring affair, and Atlanta wins this one.
Yeah, I like Atlanta in this game, too. Washington's defense has been impressive, but I don't really like Alex Smith. I think Matt Ryan is better than Alex Smith, so that's what I default to when I'm not sure, and I think Atlanta will win.
No, I agree. I think Atlanta should win this game. The Washington Redskins defense has picked it up quite a bit in the since the beginning of the season. Should check that stat there, Brad, for me. And then
no.
But I really think that they should
Do
have
your own work.
I think they should have the offensive weapons there. No, I know that's what I'm making fun of you, stat boy. So I got to go with the Falcons. I think that they're passing, between Ridley and Julio Jones, and don't leave out Hooper here. He's been showing some promise. So give me Atlanta. Houston going into Denver.
I don't care about Demaryius Thomas. I think Houston is just a really good offense, and they will find a way against a bad offense. And with Case Keenum leading the charge, Deshaun Watson keeps it rolling. He's got an extra couple days to prepare as well. Houston.
Yeah, I like Houston here too. I think they're better at just about everything. Although I really want to see Cortland Sutton go off. So if that happens and Denver pulls out a win, fine. But I think Houston takes it here.
Okay. I'm going to go with Denver. I think the Denver is going to come back and show how stout their defense has turned, apparently, over the past week. And I expect Philip Lindsay to have a pretty decent game here against the Texans. They're going to be playing up in the Mile High, and I think that that's something that's going to affect the monsters on that defensive line. So
And it's something we didn't talk about. Demaryius Thomas is going from Denver to Houston, and they're playing each other this week. That's got to be a first in NFL history, I would imagine. Like a trade happening. Obviously, players get cut and then picked up, but this seems very odd that Denver would, unless they had no other suitors, trade him to that team right now. But I guess maybe he doesn't have enough time to learn the playbook as well. No thoughts
On the playbook?
the playbook. You know the playbook pretty well.
How big of a playbook do they have down there?
It's about 15 pages. It's pretty small.
I think you can pick that up.
You can pick it up.
Yeah.
possibly.
Possibly.
Chargers going into the Seahawks.
Chargers coming off the bye here. Melvin Gordon hopefully is healthy and ready to go. I think the Chargers get this win against a Seattle team that's kind of been surprising the last few weeks here and kind of getting back into the wild card race. But I do like the Chargers nonetheless coming off the bye.
Yeah, I was surprised by Seattle's defense last week. But I think Los Angeles probably has like a 30-page playbook or so, and they're going to open it up, and
It's a
they're
lot
going
of
to win.
pages.
That seems low, actually. I think 15 pages is slim.
Hey,
That's all you
sometimes
need,
you gotta do
baby.
what you gotta do.
That's all you need.
I'm gonna go with the Seahawks here.
Remember the Titans or something?
I like the Chargers. I like the weapons they got. If Gordon's healthy, yeah, it's gonna definitely change the my thoughts a little bit. But I'm always gonna stick with Seattle on this one. But I think if they have to end up going into this with Eckler, he's shown that he really can't take that full load of duties there. And I do like Rivers. Rivers has shown that he can throw to a variety of receivers. But Russell's starting to pick things up here, and I really think that Russell's got something going here. And I think that this is a big game for him at home. Give me the Seahawks. Probably one of my favorite games this week, Rams going into the Saints.
Yeah, game of the week here. You got arguably the two best teams in the NFC going head to head. The Rams are undefeated. They have to now go to New Orleans, which is never easy. And I think New Orleans is going to find a way. They have enough there offensively in what should be another high-scoring affair to get the job done. It'll be a fun game for sure, but I guess I'll just take the Saints because, I don't know, they're the home team. There you go. Nothing more than that. They're
I'm
the home
taking
team.
the Saints because I want the Saints to win. I don't know. This game's tough. Great offenses and one pretty good defense against a defense that has a lot of new parts. I take New Orleans because they have Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Who's the pretty good defense, and who's the defense with a lot of new parts?
Rams are the pretty good defense. The defense with a lot of new parts is the Saints with Eli Apple
Okay.
and
You don't have the name
there's
anymore.
one other guy I thought.
So rude.
I forgot about Dante Fowler. They both
Yeah,
have new parts.
they
so
both have new parts.
I apologize to all the listeners out there.
You got to be careful here. He's a stickler.
Stickler.
I'm going to go with the Saints also. I think they're going to take the Rams and give them their first loss. I think it's a perfect time. Rams going to be away, and they're playing a very tough offense. So.
Mercury Morris is happy.
Green Bay going into Foxborough.
I want to pick Green Bay just because I hate, obviously, New England, but I think
Swallow.
New England kind of they didn't overlook the Bills, but they were preparing for this game, and I think they're going to go in there to Foxborough. I mean, Green Bay had to go from L.A. Now they got to come all the way. They go home to Green Bay. Now they got to go to New England. It's a tough 2 weeks stretch.
You're a big travel guy. You're all about that travel.
Well,
that cross country trips
it's
are just
legit.
It's hey man, you're spot on with it.
So that does scare me a little bit. But again, I hope New England scores with 1:20 left to take the lead, and they kick off and
Central Time Zone.
Some other idiot decides to bring it out and fumbles and robs us of another great Aaron Rodgers moment. So I will take the Patriots, unfortunately.
I think after the Ty Montgomery trade, the Packers' problems are gone, and they go in and win.
So the defense is solved?
Yeah, but now that they've got rid of probably their best player in the secondary, they're ready.
So you're taking the Packers?
I just think they'll win. It's one of those like Aaron Rodgers games, and I think he's going to come out and just do something.
Oh, I can see that for sure.
See, I don't think so. I think the Patriots are going to put the whooping on the Packers here. Going to get McCarthy in even more of a hot seat. And listen, I'm sorry, I'm not married to a Packer fan here, and I'm going to always vote on him.
You don't know that for sure. She's a closet Packer fan.
Yeah.
Maybe if Sony's back.
Yeah. I think that New England's got what it takes here. I think that they haven't really used Gronk, and I think he may be a key part into this victory here. I think he's going to kind of implode for the first time this season. And
a secret weapon?
They're going to do the what is the fucking Little Giants play?
The annexation.
The annexation of Puerto Rico. That's what they're going to do with Gronk. But no.
I don't think that makes sense.
Oh, it can.
Just throw it to Gronk 15 times. He'll catch 10 of them. He's amazing.
Well, okay.
But you know
obviously
why?
They're not going to hand off the ball to him, Brad.
You know why Gronk's not very good this year? Because Tom Brady's over the hill, and he's not very good this year. Yeah.
He's 6-2, and he beat one of the best teams in football 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but I mean, Brock Osweiler has a win this year.
Yeah, doesn't say a lot.
So wins don't really matter.
So anyway, yeah,
it's the only thing that matters.
Is this pitchers we're talking about?
Possibly. Listen, whatever you can argue about the Patriots losing, but I think it's fucking idiotic for you to fucking try and say that. Oh, Green Bay is going to be the best team this year, and I'm going to go blah, 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 blah. So that's why I'm sticking with the Patriots.
I picked the Patriots.
Yeah, I picked the back. That was me.
Well, let me turn my face to you.
You can call me ridiculous if you
son
want.
of a bitch. How dare you?
Did you guys see that Jordan commercial on Sunday Night Football?
I loved it.
Yeah.
That was really well done. He got me. I didn't see that coming.
I just wanted him to wink at me at the end.
He should have winked. I wanted to see the crying Jordan.
That's what I thought was coming. I'm like, well, it did come following soon, but yeah, no, that was pretty fucking funny. Oh man. Well, the last pretty pathetic Monday night game where Dak Prescott's going to have an enormous game. Titans going into Dallas. And we acquired Mari Cooper.
I'll take the Titans. Both these teams are coming off the bye, but I don't think I've picked the Cowboys once this year. I might not pick them at all. I hate Dak Prescott. I think he sucks. I think the Cowboys are dumb for keeping Jason Garrett all these years. So
that's a fact.
Give me the Titans. Mariota bounces back after throwing his first pick 2 weeks ago and has a pretty good game.
Yeah, I like the Titans too. I don't like Dallas this year at all. They've got Zeke, and that's it.
Yeah, I concur. Both teams are really awful, but for some reason, I think that Dak's going to have a decent game this year, and Tennessee's really not proven to be someone that is really dependable week in and week out. So the world's got to see something, and it better not be a shitty game on fucking Monday night. So just trying to get my hopes up.
Who are you picking?
Dallas.
So I just want to say this is a terrible Monday night game, but the following week 10. We have the Giants going into San Francisco.
Giants.
So, Monday Night Football, ESPN is loving Monday Night Football, and that's, we get to talk about that next week. But for now, you want to take us out?
Well, it's been fun, folks. Matt, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure here. Brad?
Our pleasure.
A delight for me.
It's a delight. It's a delight. Until next time, friends, happy trails.